Hello friends, I would like to share with you my testimony of how the Lord healed me. For me, the way things happened, it was absolutely a miracle. Last year, around December, I was diagnosed of a disease called pituitary adenoma. It's actually a disease caused by a tumor which grows on a pituitary gland which sits directly under the brain, and it's quite a very challenging condition. Just to highlight to you the way events of how I got to be healed happened, I'll start with around March or May 2019, when I was driving to Limpopo on a business trip. I started to experience double vision. So when I started experiencing that double vision, I actually noticed that there could be something wrong with me, but I didn't actually think that it could be something very serious. I just thought maybe it's something wrong with my eyes. So I decided to look for medical care with some local doctors, but I didn't actually treat it as an urgent matter, just because I was thinking it's something problem with the eyes and nothing major. So when I came back from Limpopo, I waited for about 3, 4, 5 months without seeing a doctor. Then there's this other day when I was coming back from work. I saw a banner around the area which I stay labeled optometrist free eye test. Then I decided to turn around and book an appointment there. So that's how this whole thing of my treatment started. So she couldn't find anything wrong with my eyes, and she suspected that there's something more serious. So she actually didn't tell me in an intimidating way. She was so very calm, very constructive. When she explained to me her suspicion, I didn't even panic at all. So she gave me a referral letter to one of the big hospitals here in Johannesburg, which is Joburg Hospital, and I got the referral letter. She referred me to Joburg Hospital because I had mentioned to her that I'm not on medical aid, so I won't be able to afford private medical hospital bills, if the worst comes to the worst. So I kept that referral letter for about 4, 5 or 6 weeks, because I was very busy with work during those times. So around November or towards the end of October, that's when I decided to go to Joburg Hospital and seek further help there. I went to the eye unit for Joburg Hospital. They repeated the eye tests again. We discovered that there was nothing wrong with my eyes, and they immediately referred me to radiology to get a CT scan done in my head. So the CT scan results, fortunately, they quickly came back. The results were that there was a tumor on my pituitary gland. So when the results came, it was towards the end of November, beginning of December, thereabout, 2019. So I had planned a trip to go to Zimbabwe. Didn't also disclose it to friends or relatives, because I had just a mentality that I don't need to give such bad news to friends or relatives. I wanted them to enjoy their festive season without something hanging over their head to say a friend is has got this challenging medical condition and so forth. So I went to Zimbabwe, visited one of the churches. Our friends there did prayers, and there is a pastor of one of the churches who actually, during the prayers which we were doing on one other day, she was shown in a vision challenges which I was going to face. Before I didn't actually tell them that I wasn't feeling well, but she actually mentioned after the prayers that I was shown that there's an illness in your family, challenges with illness. diagnosis. So after she mentioned that, I actually disclosed the discovery, which was made in December. So she actually promised to continue to help us in prayers for God's protection. Then when I came back from the holidays, I had another appointment at Joburg Hospital. It was on 10 January 2020. I went for the appointment and I didn't get much help. And they gave me another appointment, which was the following week of the first week of January. On the second appointment, when I was sitting on the bench, I just remembered my cousin brother, who is in the medical field, who is a surgeon at a local private hospital. So I just thought about him and decided to send him a WhatsApp message just to inform him about my illness. So as soon as I received the message, he quickly called me. We had actually last spoke a couple of years back, and we don't normally regularly communicate. But on that particular day, he called me 3 times, and he started trying and assist me to get the best possible medical assistance so that my condition can be solved. Yeah, so he actually, on the day, he contacted some of his colleagues in the medical field, and they informed him that the best place which I can get some help would be Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital, because there are some specialists who specialize in that particular area. So the next day, on Wednesday, I went to Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital, started from zero again, admission, all those paperwork involved in to start seeking services at public hospitals. I did see the specialist, the neurosurgeon. So he explained to me what was happening in my head on the pituitary gland. He did advise me to go and get another scan called an MRI scan. So he actually recommended that I do go to private sector. Public sector, the queue to do MRI scans in the public sector was too long, such that I could spend a year without having a scan being done on me. So I sacrificed. It was a bit of a sum. I did sacrifice and went to do the MRI scan at one of the local private hospitals. At the private hospitals also, there is a queue, although it's expensive to get it done there. My cousin brother helped me to have it quickly done, because the neurosurgeon, who is based at Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital, had indicated that it needs urgent attention because it had grown quite big. During that time, I was experiencing loss of eyesight on both of my eyes, especially on the left side. So I had the MRI scan done. The results, fortunately, they came back on the next day. I waited for the neurosurgeon appointment. The week after I got my MRI scan done, the neurosurgeon had actually gone away for a workshop. So on the Wednesday, when they opened, he wasn't available. His colleagues also helped me, but that particular day wasn't quite a very good day for me, because neurosurgeon who helped me told me all things that could go wrong with the operation. There was nothing positive, no encouragement to keep strong about it. It was negative things, and they were really scary, you see, because during the operation, they do maneuver through different sensitive sections of your head. And if for example, one of your nerves or those arteries get to be pinched, then it will be a real disaster, you see. So when I came off to the hospital and I was driving back home, I had a very heavy heart. I've never felt so depressed and so down in my life how I felt on that particular day. But towards the end of the day, I got over it, told my wife. We waited again for the next appointment, which was the following Wednesday. So when I went back on the following Wednesday, it It was now in February. Yes, yeah, it was in February. I managed to see the specialist neurosurgeon on this particular day. So he was happy that I got to get the MRI scan done quickly. He promised me that you try to quickly get me a bed, because in public hospitals beds are scarce to find. This was the last appointment. After the appointment, you got my number. We went back home. We were accompanied by my wife and a family friend we had visited. So we went back home, and when we arrived home, I received a call from one of the nurses at the hospital telling me that a bed had been found for me and I need to rush back to the hospital very quickly. Right. Before this last appointment, which was in February, around towards end of January, we had some prayers, quite long prayers, as a family at our house, together with this friend who I talked about, whose name is Nigel. And she said she was shown a vision, was saying that a surgery needed to be done as quickly as possible. Before that, also, during the prayers that we were doing, I always wanted God to tell me, or to give me a very clear sign, telling me that is this illness going to be healed miraculously, or does it need surgery? I needed, actually, during some of my prayers, I did ask God to show me a clear sign, or to give me a clear message. And towards the end of January, this message actually came through this friend. On that day when she told me, she was very confident, and she actually said this was a clear message, and the operation needs to be done quickly to remove whatever is in the head. That particular message calmed my nerves, although it was a scary operation, or a scary thing. When after I got the call, I rushed back to the hospital and saw the doctor whom I was told to see, who helped me to process all the admission forms. That particular neurosurgeon also told me that the reason why you got a quick call is there's a patient who had unexpectedly dropped out on the last minute. So I was the only person whom they could quickly call to fill up the gap. So it's really the works of the God, the works of the Lord. After I was admitted, they told me that the operation was going to be done the next day. So I waited for my turn. On the next day, towards the end of the day, one of the team doctors who does those sessions, those surgeries, came. It was around 2 or 3 p.m. thereabout. And he told me that the operation for the first patient took unexpectedly too long. These operations, they are only done on a Thursday, and they operate on only 2 patients on the Thursdays of each week. So he also mentioned to me that you are very fortunate that you managed to get this bed. So you just needed to stay in the hospital, because if I would go out, then it would be difficult again to get another bed. So I patiently waited for my turn. Following Thursday came. Operation was done successfully. I woke up after the operation. My neurosurgeon called me out, raising 2 fingers, told him the number firstly, and he was happy with it. So myself, I was taken to ICU for recovery. Stayed there in ICU for 3 or 4 days. My wife and other friends came to see me whilst I was recovering. They used also to tell me that you are the healthiest patient in this ward, and it actually raised my spirits, because also the way I recovered was really amazing. It wasn't a struggle, what I saw on other patients, or reacted to the various ailments or surgeries which they had. So I stayed there in ICU for about 3 or 4 days. Then after I'd stabilized, they took me to the general wards. I stayed in the general ward for 1 or 2 days again. My neurosurgeon came to check on me. So all the time from when I came from theater until when I came out, all my body functions operated normally. It's really God's power, God's grace that saved me. So I was discharged around first week of March 2020. Gave me some medication to take whilst I recover at home. So whilst I was at home, everything went according to normal. There were some follow-up appointments which I eventually met with the neurologist. One was in April. He did mention to me that your recovery went according to expectations. There had no side effects of which I could feel with the medication. Everything was positive. I would also want to thank some friends, our home group leader, relatives, and so on. They've been standing with me and giving me support with the prayers. Also want to thank the church, Kuno and his family as well. They've been with us through and through as well. Especially Kuno, he did set up a WhatsApp group I had with my wife where they used to pray every day so that I could be saved from perishing. I would like to also encourage people to pray and trust God with whatever challenges they have. What I assure you is that if you present your challenges to God wholeheartedly without doubting, God listens to you. Thank you very much.